what is a practical way to engage your players into the plot hook? There are 3 different ways that get plot hooks in my games. Would you like to create realistic 3D animated maps easily and quickly for your D&D or RPG game? With Black Box Map Maker coming soon to Kickstarter, you can. You can use Black Box Map Maker's AI to generate maps and scenes that you can then customize for your campaign, or you can create your own gorgeous, highly detailed maps from scratch. Black Box Map Maker has 4 different perspectives for you and your players, and a massive number of ever-expanding themes to choose from as well. Tavern, dungeon, forest, abandoned ruins, catacombs, and many more. You can create the perfect ambiance to truly immerse your players in your game by adding music, filters, skins, and special effects. And then during gameplay, players can interact with the environment you create, such as opening and closing doors and cabinets, and triggering hidden traps. Use Black Box Map Maker on your PC, phone, tablet, or VR headset, and then easily share, print, or upload your creations to the virtual tabletop of your choice. You can back Black Box Map Maker on Kickstarter from November 18th to December 18th using the link below. There are 3 different ways that get plot hooks in my games. One is there's usually a main campaign story arc, which is the main campaign. This is what the campaign's about. In the instance of the story I just told you, it's about the Fae and demons and bad stuff happening. Now, my players get engaged in that plot hook probably for 2 main reasons. One, it's part of the unspoken social contract. The game master is running a game, the game is about this, therefore we're going to play his game. The other part is that you try to make it cool and interesting. You try to give them rewards. You try to make it worth their while to go follow that plot hook. So those 2 elements there are the primary engagers of that plot hook, making it sound fun and interesting and cool, and the social contract. Now, the other type of plot hook has to do with their character backgrounds or their own personal goals. Those plot hooks are pretty darn easy, because it's called knife theory, I've heard it called. Basically, if they have a character background, you can take you have to pick parts of their character background, their backstory, the things things in their past. And if you take your knife and you poke it at the right thing, your players are going to react. Oh, what? No! How is that possible? My brother, I thought he was dead, and now he's been sighted. Wow, I have to go find, or my brother whom I thought was dead is now in prison, and he sent me a message asking me to help him. Well, we gotta go find out what's going on. Holy crap. You see, you take your knife and you stick it in the right place, and your players' backstories, and they will react. And that engages them. Because your players' backstories are something they created. They wrote it. And so it's closer to them. It's more personal to them. And when you take it and you create an adventure or something going on that has to do with their backstory, they're going to be pretty immediately engaged. And usually, in my experience, they want to go do that thing because it's part of their backstory. It's like, oh, my backstory, we're going and doing that. I always try to make those adventures and those things that the entire group goes and does, because I run group games. I don't run individualistic games. So if there's something going on with one character's backstory, the whole group goes there on an adventure and figures stuff out. And this is part of our social contract that we play as a group. We don't play individually. So if there's a plot hook that involves, Jim Bob's character, well, then guess what? The expectation is that everybody's going to go help Jim Bob. Once you get done with your current quest and there's nothing pressing or whatever, you guys make your own priorities. But if you want to help Jim Bob, everybody goes. The third type of plot hook that I give my players is plot hooks that come from things that they have done in the game world, problems they have caused, things they've done that have consequences. For instance, in the story I just went on about, they had awoken a Titan. They had awoken a Titan that had been cast down from the heavens, and the Titan began to go on a rampage across the entire area. My players felt responsible for the destruction that was being done by that Titan. And so they wanted to solve that. It was like, oops, we caused that. That's our fault. We should probably fix that. And that engaged them. So now there are a couple of things here that, when you have their decisions have consequences and things happen as a result, it makes them first feel like the world is living. It's a living, breathing game world. Our decisions matter, our choices matter, the things we do actually matter, and things happen as a result. And when one of those things that happens as a result is something that has negative consequences, or something bad is happening in the game world, your players will feel like, oh, We should probably go fix that because that's our fault. We did that. So when you have, that's the third type of plot hook you can give your players. It will get them engaged. And for those reasons, they will feel responsible, like they need to go fix it. My players right now felt responsible for that Titan, and now they're trying to go fix it. So you got 3 basic types of plot hooks that I just laid out there. And all of them have their own unique ways that they engage your players and get them to want to go do that thing. So if you poke at any of those things, then you're going to be on a really good track. Usually you start off a game with your main campaign story arc. That's your plot hooks. Those are your plot hooks. Those are oftentimes less engaging than the other 2 types of plot hooks. But once the game gets rolling a little bit and you've gotten a few adventures under your belt and you start digging into players' backstories and you start creating plot hooks based on their backstories and separate adventures that they can go on that are based on their backstories, that's going to be more engaging to them usually than your main campaign story arc. And then now the whole thing with the third type, which is where there are events in the world happening that are based upon their actions and decisions, they need to have a few adventures under their belt. They need to have done some things that you can then think about, what are the consequences? Oh, they stole that map. Okay, what consequences can I think up of? Oh, they awoken that Titan. Okay, cool. What consequences can happen from having awoken that Titan? All right, so they need some adventures under their belt so you can brainstorm and think about those consequences. So the third type of plot hook you really can't get into until they've done some adventuring for at least several game sessions. And then you can start deploying that third type of plot hook. But all of those types of plot hooks are beautiful. Now, depending on your game, you're going to have a different mix of those different 3. Some games are going to be mostly heavy into the main story arc plot hook. For instance, my Curse of Strahd game right now, we are literally running a module. And I told my players, look it, we're running the module. We're running Curse of Strahd. Yes, you guys have backstories, some of you. This game is not about your backstories. This game is about Curse of Strahd. We're running the module. You guys want to play Strahd? Okay, let's play Strahd. So you're probably not going to see a whole bunch of stuff from your backstories. So that's usually off the table if I'm running a module, depending on the flavor and how I want to do it. You don't have to do it that way. You can obviously run modules and work in stuff from their backstories if you wanted to. In this particular case, they're on a domain of dread, which is separate from their entire lives. So everything from their backstories is literally not there. It's in a different world. So it didn't make sense to incorporate that stuff. And I wanted to run the module. I didn't want to do homebrew custom things in this particular case. Now, the things that happen as a result of their actions could still happen in the module, right? But anyway, that's not the point. Sometimes you're going to have very heavy focused on the main story arc. Other games, you might have really heavily focused on their backstories or really heavily focused on cleaning up consequences from their actions. My Ancient Dragon game right now is mostly deviating away from the main story arc. The main plot hook about Fae and demons is they haven't done anything with that for 6 months or more in real lifetime. Everything right now has been running adventures that have to do with their backstories, or now they're doing adventures that have to do with consequences in the game world because of their actions. And I need like a fancy term for that. Anyway, so they're pretty much deviating that way. So you get different flavors of campaigns based upon which of those things you're implementing and how heavily you're implementing them. I would say that my standard homebrew campaign tends to mix all 3 of them historically. Currently, I have one that's heavily focused on plot hooks, the main campaign story arc. And then I have another one that's kind of the opposite and is focused mostly on backstories and cleaning up bad stuff that happened because of decisions they made in the game world. So anyway, there's a treatise on plot hooks